I wanted to speak really quickly about kind of how we got to where we are as a state. I remember watching on TV people in China allegedly just dropping dead in the streets during 2020, and I remember watching that saying, man, is this going to be like a real pandemic? Is this a real health crisis, or is this just another scare theater? Is this real? Should we wear a mask? Are we all going to die? Everybody started day drinking. It was crazy. They started pushing masks on us. And then they started pushing social distances, that if you were 6 feet away from someone, you were safe. But if you were 5 feet away, somehow that was dangerous. One of the worst things of all that came out of this fake pandemic we had was businesses being labeled essential and non-essential by our own governor in Idaho. A lot of businesses never came back. They were closed down and they never came back, but somehow Home Depot and Walmart were essential. We faced a lot during 2020 and 2021. Then they brought the vaccine, right? The vaccine, a medical experiment that they forced and coerced a lot of people into getting. We know how that turned out. People started dying suddenly. With all the Zoom calls and the remote learning, a lot of parents realized for the first time, hey, my kid is being indoctrinated with diversity and equity and inclusion and critical race theory and all these types of things. And they're pushing this woke agenda on kids in the schools. So a lot of parents got to see that for the first time ever. And then to top it all off, we get President Brandon in the White House, the cherry on top of this pandemic thing. The real pandemic was one of authoritarianism, of tyranny, and it was a pandemic that was ran and orchestrated by a corrupt bureaucratic empire who is power hungry, drunk on power. And they want more. The good thing that happened is people woke up. And when you wake up, sometimes you get pissed off. And I got really pissed off. I had zero political ambitions until about 2020. I didn't move here to become a senator or run for office. That was never a thing until this pandemic happened. I ran on the fact that I would go and fight to protect our health freedom, because no government should have the right to tell you what to inject into your body or put on your face. Promise kept. Here we are after my first legislative session. We did a lot of stuff with health freedom and medical freedom. My first bill ever was a bill 6 weeks into the session that the governor signed it, and it was my bill. This wasn't a lobbyist bill. This was something I was very passionate about. The bill said that CPS, Child Protective Services, cannot initiate an investigation or determine parental rights based on a child's vaccination status. So that passed last year. We could talk about woke stuff and education and property tax and there's all these things, right? But if we continue to spend money like drunken sailors and put our kids into federal debt slavery, we're not going to have an Idaho left. So we went in there and we fought for economic freedom. We tried to introduce some kind of fiscal sanity and restraint. The Idaho Senate has not killed a spending bill in years. Think about that. Conservative utopia Idaho, we haven't killed in the Senate one spending bill on the Senate floor in several years. So we went in there and we fought for that. So that brings us up from 2020 until today. Why are we all standing here? Why are you looking at this weird bald guy talking about politics and all this stuff? Because the fight's not over. That's why. I believe we are 1 or 2 years away from losing conservative Idaho. If you look at Colorado, if you look at Portland, San Francisco, pick your liberal hellhole. We're very close to doing that because Idaho is in the sights of the left. And with a lot of the things they're pushing, we're about to lose conservative Idaho. It's really great to see everyone here tonight. I brought us from 2020 to 2024, and I am now honored and privileged to introduce someone to you who has been a standout in the Idaho Republican Party, a man who has been responsible for a lot of the movement as far as pushing the conservative agenda down the road. I'd like to have Mr. Brent Regan come up and talk to everybody here about where we're at now and where we're going and what's at stake if we don't all Wake up.
Give a big hand to Brian. I'm so proud of this guy. He came on the scene like some kind of a freaking lightning bolt. Everybody's going, what is with this guy? And he certainly upset the apple cart, which is exactly what we need. I'm an engineer by trade, an inventor. I fix things, I fix problems. And back in 2009, my wife and I were watching a speech by Barack Obama. And she turns to me and she says, somebody's got to do something about this. So I took that as a directive, and I went and got involved in the Tea Party. And the thing about the Tea Party was interesting was it was a conservative awakening, right? The Tea Party itself didn't get a lot done except let people know there were other people out there like us. And that started it. Idaho, way back when, was a hard Democrat state. It's miners and farmers and ranchers, and they tend to be Democrats, and it was like that for a long time. And then in the mid-90s or so, the movement started going more Republican, and a lot of people were getting elected that were Republicans. A lot of former Democrats put on red jackets, called themselves Republican, and got elected. And so Idaho's current state now is that even though we're a hard red state, inside it's kind of pink. The Republican legislatures of the 50 states, Idaho ranks 40th for conservatism. 40th. Yeah. So we're trying to improve that. Now, back in 1974, the Chamber of Commerce, the State Chamber of Commerce and industry group got together and had a love child, and that was the Idaho Association of Commerce and Industry. We know that as IACI, right? IACI now has 200 member companies. They represent some of the largest companies in Idaho. 200,000 employees. Huge voting bloc. IACI is the largest and most powerful lobbying group in the state. IACI's mission is commerce and industry. So like the launch bill, $8,000 to every student to do training, right? Well, that was good for them. That was good for the students. Wasn't so good for the taxpayer. But they say, listen, if our business grows, then it'll be good for the collective. It'll be good for everybody. So the individual now suffers for the good of the collective. What does that sound like to you? Socialism. Yeah, exactly. So that's what we're up against. Reagan said it right. He said, freedom is never more than a generation away. It is not a sanguinal inheritance. It does not pass through the blood. You have to fight for it at every turn. It is each and every one of you's responsibility to fight and preserve it, to pass it on to our kids and our grandkids. That's the simple fact of it. It's like mowing the damn lawn. You do it, you got to go back and you got to do it again. And if we sit down and lay back and say, well, it's okay, they can do it, and you end up with tampon machines in the men's room. Okay? That's where it goes. Because if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And now we've got a chance. We're at the cusp. I've never seen anything like this. It's kind of exciting in a dangerous way, like when you're at the top of a roller coaster and you don't quite know what's coming up next. But we have a chance now, but we have to get behind it and push. This is a fundraiser tonight here, folks. We're here to have the money, which is the fuel for this campaign. This guy got in, and he got in pretty easy. It ain't gonna be easy the second time. Up in Kootenai County, all the time we go up against 10 times the spending we have, but we put in the hard work, okay? Knocking on doors, canvassing neighborhoods, talking to people, throwing events, making sure they know what's going on, talking one-on-one like I'm doing here to all of you, okay? That's the thing that matters, and that's how you win these races. And we've won a lot of races, so I know what I'm talking about. You can do it smart, but you still need to do it.
What can we do to begin to fix social media? How are we going to fix it? Don't support them? That's easy to say, but I would say in many ways, Google, Meta, these companies own the town square. What we would consider First Amendment right, I would consider online now. I think the only way we can really repair this is from the inside when it comes to these companies. Because right now, I'll tell you one thing that we're not good at, and that's getting on that social media side, especially when it comes to this younger generation. So let's get everybody under the age of 30. Raise your hands right now. Let's get those hands right up. We need you guys to get your friends out here. We need this younger generation more so now than ever. So let's make sure that we're doing that. Now, another thing that we're looking at as well is out here in Idaho, we're apparently not a very conservative state, but we should be. Isn't that right, Brian? How come suppressors aren't off the registry here? Let's get it done. Right, everybody? Yeah! We got constitutional carry passed here, right? Pretty awesome. Let's go, Idaho. But there's a lot of steps that we can still do. And the problem that we have is everybody is comfortable. Because when I moved to Idaho, everyone's like, oh, best gun laws in the country. You guys are good. I think we should be even better. We should be a bastion of freedom when it comes to Idaho. You should be able to come here, walk in and out with a suppressor and a machine gun. There should be no reason there are any limitations on that. Because when it comes to the Constitution, what's the First Amendment say?
Shall not be infringed.
First Amendment. You're getting ahead of yourself. First Amendment. What's the First Amendment say, everyone? Freedom of speech, okay. And then after they wrote the First Amendment, they say, but if you're going to say whatever you want, you should probably have what? A gun, yeah, probably. So we need to do everything that we can to strengthen these gun rights, and more so than anything, for my younger generation, we need to get you guys out here. And social media is not going to get votes. We actually need to get you boots on the ground, out here with your friends, getting this stuff done. Because as great as it is to yell on social media all day, is that going to get anything done for you, Brian? No, absolutely not. We need to get people out here. So please, get with your friends. Now, there's one thing I can say. When it comes to Brian, the only thing that I need to know about him is that liberals hate him. Therefore, I love him.
Woo! I'll take it.
So everybody, thank you so much for coming out. There's a lot of work to be done. I think it's easy to say we're in Idaho. We're a conservative state. We're good. Everybody believes in God. We all love conservatism. But there is much work to be done. Let's make this state the most red freaking state in the entire union. God bless America. Thank you so much, everybody. I think, am I doing raffles? Okay.
Those aren't ours.
Good solid conservative.